We again have 5 candidates running for 4 seats, with Nancy Greenstein announcing her retirement. We have 2 elected incumbents, Cheyenne Roy and Tom Peters. We have, along with 1 appointed incumbent, Luis Barerra Castañón, and 2 challengers, Kera Blades-Snell and Oscar de la Torre. Let's welcome all 5 of them, please. Okay, let's go to opening statements. You have 1 minute each, and we'll start with Tom.
Okay, hi, I'm Tom.
Hold on, let's get you a mic.
Hello, I'm Tom Peters, and in the last 4 years that I've been on the board, I've had a very satisfying role shaking hands with hundreds of students every year at commencement time. It gave me a great thrill. I love doing it. I managed to get smiles out of most of them. And we all know special moments are rare, and life is life. As an SMC board member, life has had moments of sadness and grief. Sadness, when I shook the hand of an associate dean recently who was laid off and asked how he was doing, looking for a job. It hurt. And when it comes to grief, it's even worse. When Felicia Hudson was murdered on our Center for Media and Design campus, I knew Felicia. I worked at the college for years. And I cannot go by the Stewart Street campus without thinking of her. And so I say that just to say that this is hard and meaningful work, and that I'm lucky because I'm like my dad, who worked really hard his whole life, and he said he did it just because it was the right thing to do.
Okay, thanks. We'll go to Shai next. And just to be clear, Isabel's got the timekeeping. She'll let you know when you have 10 seconds and when the time's up. Shai, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to start by saying thank you to the club. We all know that I didn't finish in the top 2 of the state Senate race, and I just want to say how grateful I am to the members of this club for all your support for me and our family in the election over this past year and a half, and just a lot of gratitude. It was a frustrating result, as you can imagine, and one of the rewarding things with the result is being able to stay engaged and try to continue my time on the college board and help navigate the college through a really difficult situation, a really difficult fiscal situation, so that we can, sort of come out the other side and in the best way possible for students, faculty, staff, and the surrounding community. So I'm grateful to be here, and thank you.
Okay, Kera.
Okay. Thank you guys for having me. My name is Kera Blades-Snell, and I'm running because I believe education opens doors. As a first-generation college graduate and immigrant of Belize, I've experienced firsthand how education can transform lives. Since moving to Santa Monica 9 years ago, I have dedicated myself to giving through nonprofit leadership, community service, and education. As executive director for SMBEA, I've worked hard with hundreds of individuals, helping to connect them with housing, workforce development, education, and critical resources. One of my greatest accomplishments that I'm very proud of is the founding of Empower Her Entrepreneurship Program. I wrote the curriculum, the textbook, and I personally teach a 10-week program. As of today, I've graduated 27 women entrepreneurs. As a trustee, I believe I will bring collaborative leadership, sound judgment, fiscal responsibility, and a commitment to keeping students at the center of every decision. I will listen, ask thoughtful questions, and work to ensure Santa Monica College continues to provide the opportunity to every student who walks through the doors. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks. Oscar?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Oscar de la Torre. When I was elected student body president at Santa Monica High School, I decided to commit my life to public service. I'm born and raised in this city, product of the public school system here, from Will Rogers, John Adams to Santa Monica High School, and also Santa Monica College. So I have the unique experience of being a former student of Santa Monica College and an employee as well. I'm joined here with my two sons, Oscar Jr., who is graduated just from Santa Monica College on his way to UC Berkeley, and also Fidel. Yes, round of applause for that. And Fidel de la Torre, who's a student body president right now for the junior class at Santa Monica High School. And I'm very proud of my boys. And that's why I'm doing this, because I totally understand the power of public education. I served 18 years on the school board. I'm very proud to hear about the Noguera report, the Equity Fund, all the initiatives that I worked so hard to bring forward. I also served on the city council. I'm a former president of the California Latino School Board Association, former chair of the West Side Council of Governments, 25 years serving our youth here through the Pico Youth and Family Center, and I hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, and now we go to Luis.
Buenas noches, Luis Barerra Castañón, and I also want to acknowledge just all of our staff that today they're not coming back to a job because we had to lay off, and so just the impacts that has to their families and to their communities in that way. But so I'm an immigrant from Guatemala. I grew up in Culver City and went to school in the LAUSD system. And it wasn't until after high school that I started to find my way, and I was on my trajectory to become a plumber. That was my life trajectory, until someone said I should go to Santa Monica College, and I found it through the buses that signed worked for me, and I came to Santa Monica, signed up, found out that there wasn't any construction classes, but by that point I was hooked, and I became a student. I became a student body president at Santa Monica College, so a fellow elected student body representative. And I was a student there during 2002 to 2003, and the impacts of those layoffs really stayed with me, and that was one of the reasons that I wanted to come back to Santa Monica and run for Board of Trustees. There's more to that, but thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so just in case anyone came in late, there is the opportunity to do a rebuttal. We're going to ask the question. Everyone will get their 1 minute full answer. And then if you heard something you want to dispute or disagree with that someone else said, after the 5 minutes, then you can raise your hand and we'll continue the discussion as long as it's needed. So let's move on to the next question. SMC serves many purposes: preparing students to transfer to 4 years, providing workforce training, supporting students' basic needs, serving the broader community. If 4 years from now the college had made significant progress in only one of these key areas, what would you want it to be, and why should it be the board's highest priority? And we will start with Shai.
4 years from now, what I hope will happen is that I hope this year we're at the nadir of our fiscal situation that has affected so many faculty and staff and their families, and also just students who are served by these important members of the SMC family. And I hope that we're in a place 4 years from now where we're expanding programs to offer to students in our community, both in Santa Monica and the surrounding catchment area. And then B, I also hope that 4 years from now, we are well underway for construction on a student housing project at our Bundy campus. And so I think those two things would be really, make for a positive next 4 years.
Thank you. Kera?
Okay, so for what I think should happen 4 years from now, I'm actually to piggyback off of you a little bit, is definitely more affordable housing and student housing. And I think one of the things that we need to work on also is workforce development for the students. Many times I think students, especially the ones that come into my nonprofit, they kind of fall in the cracks that they cannot afford to live here and they cannot afford even to pay their bills. And even going to college, they cannot, finish because of the fact that they cannot do what they need to do to survive. So I think workforce development would be a big component that we should implement into the college, working with the city, working with our local resources, a tourism board, and the hotels, and develop something that can have them go from students into the workforce.
Thank you. Luis.
Excuse me. I can't wait for 4 years from now because, one, Trump will be in office, and that's one of the biggest barriers that we have with international education and getting students to come to our campus. So I know fiscally we'll be much better at that point, but I'm really excited about the steps that we've taken already to address just our financial health. I think there's a realization, I think there's now an attitude to really try to figure out that piece and tap into the funding formulas that exist for us to be solvent, and not just solvent, but also invest in programs. So I can't wait for that. I think we have an amazing opportunity, and I agree with Kera on the workforce development side, right? I think since our Dean of Workforce Development left, we have maybe one person that's funded out of our general fund in workforce development, and we just need to change that. If that's our values, we need to really look at how do we create more in workforce development, how do we upskill our community, how do we really reskill our community, and think more innovatively around education, and I really can't wait for that in the next 4 years.
Thank you. Tom.
Yeah, I think that's hard. Well, 4 years from now, I think not so much programs, because I think all the programs are connected in such a way that the students that come to us from all over the county are looking for different things. What I'd like to see in 4 years is movement in Sacramento and in the chancellor's office and the funding formula. It needs reform. This roller coaster ride we go through year after year after year makes it very hard to serve our students as well as we'd like to serve them, give them the services they need. So I think the answer 4 years from now is a Sacramento in legislation more than it is programs.
And Oscar.
Yes. So 4 years. I understand that the college is still going to have to make budget cuts, so it's very difficult to talk about sort of vision and programs. So really important for me, protecting student services and SMC's emeritus program from budget cuts. So holding the line, on those programs that we value in our community. Strengthen partnerships for P through 16 education. So we have an antiquated view of public education. We talk about K through 12. And we need to start looking at it from P through 16. So early childhood development all the way to at least 4 years of college after high school. So having that education coalition set up in partnership with the city, with the school district, the community college, and our universities, I think is very important moving forward. The other thing is this, is that about 4%, from my understanding, 4% of all the students at Santa Monica College are residents of Santa Monica or Malibu. And so I want to create a resident worker retraining initiative for the jobs of the future. So making sure that we are, retraining the workers and our residents so that they can thrive in the new economy.
Thank you. Does anyone have any to rebut anything, or can we move on? Okay. So beyond simply providing access and keeping tuition affordable, what should SMC be judged on in concrete terms? Completion rates, transfer rates, job placement, time to degree, or something else? Which metric is the best indicator of whether the college is doing a good job, and what is one specific change you would make specifically with an eye on improving that outcome? Shai.
The really big problem with funding formulas and tracking outcomes is that the students who come to Santa Monica College and community colleges across the state identify success in different ways. And so, for example, we're very proud of our #1 transfer rate to UC, to Columbia, places like that. And that's really important for the students who are going to those institutions. But it's the minority of our students. And so, a substantial portion of our students measure success from their community college experience in different ways. And we have to figure out ways, not just at Santa Monica College, but as a state, to capture that success, whether it's workforce programs, certificates, whether it's just, taking a class or two to develop skills to take some sort of a job that doesn't involve a certificate. How do we capture that? And some of that is, post-survey data, and we just need to get better alumni and people who matriculate out, better measures for, were you successful? Did you achieve your goals at Santa Monica College? And the state has to do a better job of capturing that, because the funding formulas right now are really based on, I don't think that they measures outcomes in a way that substantially makes community college programming better.
Thanks. Tom?
Yeah, Shai's made a really good point of...
What was that, sorry?
Our chair, Shai, makes good points all the time. But yes, it's complicated. We do the best we can. Any particular program is important to any particular student that's in it. Those that work hard within those departments are proud of what's going on in those departments. So I always have a hard time with questions like this, because it's trying to look at something that I don't think is there. When I look around, when I worked there for 15 years. By and far, the majority of people there have the best of intentions, are working as hard as they can, are connecting with students, whatever program they're in, whether it's transfer, it's career. I was on the career tech committee for many years, and we did a lot of great things with Perkins grants and getting a lot of equipment in classrooms that, like our photography program, our film program is like next to none right now. It competes with finer films schools in the East. So yeah. I'm dodged the question, but sue me.
Clock ran out. Let's go to Oscar.
It's a very important question, because Santa Monica College is known for being the #1 transfer school to the UC system. We don't talk a lot about retention. The dropout rate, for example, how many students are dropping out. And I can tell you, because I consider myself somewhat of an expert in this field. I wrote my master's thesis on how do you integrate public universities with effective retention programs. And so UCLA has a model program, the AAP program, and so we're proud of that program. But we need to start talking about that, because as part of the enrollment problem, we're losing students. I mean, after the first semester, after the second semester, and there's various reasons why students can't continue, mostly economic. So we need to really understand why students are dropping out. That's something that I really want to focus on, bring a lot of attention to that issue so that we can help students succeed. And that to me would be one of the most important indicators of student success, is how fast they can graduate and how long we keep them, so that the dropout rate to me would be very important.
Thanks. Kera?
So I actually totally agree with you, Oscar. I do believe that before we even get to college, one of the things that I think that we need to work on is getting the children into college. I think for minority students, especially, we need to start creating the hype, from the time they're in grade school. Especially with minorities, I remember, my mom telling me from a very young age, me and my sisters and my brothers, that, she's a single mother and she's struggling, and she's like, I don't want this for you guys. Education is the way. Education is the way. And I noticed with even a lot of minority people that come into my organization, they do not see education as important as getting their kids to get turning 18 and do some type of work. So I think we need to partner with the other school districts and to start doing programs to encourage children to go to school and college.
Thanks. Luis?
First, I think California has the best higher educational system in the country, and that includes the community colleges. I think the top-down approach that the Chancellor's office uses to create the funding formula already has 32 metrics, if not more, embedded within it. We just need to align to those metrics, because a lot of the metrics include equity, includes some of the basic needs piece, includes transfer, includes all those pieces. We just need to understand where we are as a college and how we're moving towards it. And right now, we don't have a way of doing that. There is no central repository, dashboard, data system that we can go to and say, how have we done over time since this formula has been created, and what has been our steps to address those gaps? And so I think we just need to really look at our system, align to those metrics, trace them over time, and see how we're meeting them, and where do we need to adjust, and how do then we bring all stakeholders into that conversation. But I think that the state has already created a well thought out system that has those metrics already embedded in it.
Thank you. Okay. Looking back over the past several years of budgeting, what do you believe are the most consequential decisions that led SMC to its current financial position with a projected $14.7 million deficit? What is your assessment of how the board has handled long-term budgeting, and how does your fiscal approach differ from others on this stage? And we start with Tom.
Great question. I have to look back at around I think it was the time when we got a lot of money from being on hold harmless over the years. I mean, our fund balance at one time, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like $40 million. And how it went from 40 million to 17 is a story of having too much money and spending too much money and not thinking long term. I wasn't on the board then. I'm sure it was just as complex and crazy as it seems like to me now, so I don't want to throw any blame anywhere, but that was a huge setback, is to have that much help from the state that early on in COVID, and then have it completely wiped out practically.
Thanks. Luis?
I'll agree with Tom that was probably the most consequential, going from $40+ million in reserves to now try and make sure that we don't meet that 5% threshold with the state, so that the state doesn't take us over, right? I think there is so much that we probably needed to look at, but I'll agree that it's so complex, right? There's so many things that are happening at the global level. COVID was taking place during that time. We're trying to keep staff as well. And the decisions at that time just made sense. And if you look at it, you could track it, it did make sense. But I think for me, how I would approach it differently is really looking at forecasting. Will this money be better spent in other areas that can grow revenue, that can create programming that is for the times? I think for me, I would be more data-driven in that way, and just really looking at all the possibilities that exist before making a decision to do fixed cost on temporary funds.
Thank you. Kera?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Looking back over the past several years of budgeting, what do you believe are the most consequential decisions that led SMC to its current financial position with a projected $14.7 million deficit? And what is your assessment of how the board has handled long-term budgeting, and how does your fiscal approach differ from others on stage?
So I actually think the current board is actually doing a great job. I think one of the things that, you know, as a board member, you do have to make difficult decisions. And Rob Rader kind of said it best when he said that this budget crisis has been happening for some years now, and it was ignored because, you know, staff reports made changes of which the board thought would have helped and worked. But, you know, as an entrepreneur, I think that you should do a little bit more oversight when it comes to budgeting, and if something was shown back then that it was wrong, they should have jumped in a little bit more and tried to figure that out a little bit more. So I would probably do a little bit more oversight and just be more engaged and more hands-on with that. Yeah.
Thank you. Shai.
You know, in my tenure on the board, we've had complex issues that have impacted the budget. You know, we had COVID, which had positive one-time money on our, our school's budget, but also impacted enrollment. We've had the Trump administration, which has really affected international student enrollment for the college as well. And then we've had a state budget that has, been a roller coaster, has gone up and down over the past 8-10 years. And, state government budgets they're year to year, and I'm always very cognizant as I make decisions that the consequences of these budget decisions are the people who are serving the college. And, looking back on my tenure, every time that we had budget negotiations, every time we had negotiations with the faculty, with the CSEA, I was always cognizant they work very hard for our students, and they deserve as much, salary recognition and value as we can possibly give them with the budget that we have at the time, because the economy fluctuates, the state budget fluctuates, events fluctuate. And, we came upon this year where we did have to take measures that were very hurtful to so many people and so many families at the college. I'm very hopeful that with the improvement in the state budget, that those measures hopefully will not have to be taken again in the near future.
Thanks. And Oscar.
Yes. Well, after serving 18 years on the school board and 4 on the city council, it's always been structural deficits, for the most part. So I'm very familiar with the concept that, one-time funds should not be budgeted in a way, you're going to run out of the money, bottom line. You don't, the one-time funds are for one time, maybe for an annual, maybe a little more than that. But we need to find a way to look at public-private partnerships to fund new initiatives that benefit our students, because we just don't have the money to do it. So we're going to have to seek those partnerships, advocacy at the state level, to make sure that we get more funding for the community college system. And in terms of my approach, equity will be my compass. I'll be an advocate on the board for students of greatest need, so making sure that we do everything that we can to break the chain of generational poverty. I mean, we heard from the school board members earlier that really the issue is income for a lot of these students, and so we want to change that.
Thank you. Okay. So each of you talk about the lack of housing as a barrier to success. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead.
I think that most of our funding comes from the state. And so I think that we need more power in Sacramento, and I think we would all agree on that. It was part of the reason I ran for state senate. The community colleges need more oxygen in Sacramento, and there's just not enough. And because of that, when there are cuts, they affect community colleges, and there's not enough people up there advocating for our programs that serve so many middle-class California families. And I think that is really the key going forward.
Thank you. Okay, so each of you have talked about housing in your questionnaires on the stage tonight as a key barrier to success, but there's differences of opinion among the 5 of you about how the college should solve it. So rank these approaches and priority for SMC over the next few years: building student housing, subsidizing students off campus, partnering with the city to develop new housing. Would you still support your number 1 approach if it required higher density near campus or faced neighborhood opposition? Start with Oscar.
Housing is obviously unaffordable in our city, for sure, throughout the state. And it's putting a lot of pressure on everything else. So we have property on the Bundy campus, so I think that's appropriate for us to do housing there. The other thing, too, though, is that the city, through the housing element, I mean, we're building housing. There's developers that are, they have to have at least 10, to 15% of units that are affordable. We need to work in partnership with the city and the housing department to prioritize students as well, to make sure that we can get some of our students in that housing. The goal is to create self-sufficiency and reward that type of behavior. Somebody that's working to get their education, definitely deserves an opportunity to finish their education so they can be self-sufficient. I want to reward that type of behavior.
Thank you. Tom?
Well, I think what we haven't realized yet is what we're going to do with student housing, with the bond as it is. And it was slowed down by this partnership we tried with UCLA, and it sort of fell apart. But when I think about that, we needed their management expertise, but it was going to cost us part of the housing. It was a joint effort, and they were going to use it. But what's on the books now is the possibility of, if we were to maximize what we can do on the Bundy campus, and correct me if I'm wrong, 3 or 4 buildings. I mean, they are 700 beds apiece, and my vision of if we could get that type of capacity, we can have what we promised the voters in 2022 when we pitched the bond, was that we were going to help our unhoused students. And we do that by having some market rates, some affordable rate. We have to subsidize very, very low rates for those students that are suffering most from housing insecurity. So what we have on the books so far can happen. It's just happening at a painfully slow rate, as most projects do. But down the road, I think what we can do on the Bundy campus alone can be pretty phenomenal.
Luis?
For me, it's student housing, but I think all of them are connected. With the passage of AB 648 this last year, we have an opportunity to really think creatively about our properties, our real estate, and see what solution housing can come from, and that includes our main campus, that includes all the properties that we own. And so I think that helps us solve for student housing, and it is a subsidy, right? We need to provide subsidies for our students that are most in need, and we have great students we have a very economically diverse student population, so there's others that can afford the housing, can afford some of the housing in that way, that can subsidize all of our students. And then we need to look at partnerships with the city. I think the city has properties, right, that we can do something creatively with now that we have this opportunity through this new law. And I think all of that then creates more opportunities for us to think beyond just student housing and really look at employee housing, right? Look at staff housing. We have a lot of partners with the college. I think about the Growing Place and students who graduate and then work there but can't afford to live here, and so they have to commute 2 hours in that way. So I think there's a lot for us to do.
Thank you. Kera?
Okay, so you said 3 different types of housing, and how would I prioritize them? So I think I would prioritize with the city and the subsidizing, and then building. And I say building because not that I don't think that that's the most important, but I think it's going to take the longest to become a reality. Then subsidy, we can work with Community Corp. They have hundreds of buildings. Somehow we could probably try to figure out how to partner with them and create a database with them for our students. And the first one is the city, as Luis and everybody's saying, we do have a lot of empty buildings. We should be able to somehow put some beds in there and create immediate housing for students. That's how I would do it.
Okay, and finally, Shai?
I'll be really focused on getting our housing project on the Bundy campus all the way through to fruition. I give credit. Barry's in the back there. Barry gets a lot of credit as well for getting us to where we are. And we would have, a few years ago, we had an opportunity to get state funding to help build this housing. That fell through with the budget cuts. Then we had a partnership with UCLA that fell through because they backed out of the deal. And now we are looking, it's about the financing. We have the project, we have the opportunity for the students. What the solution is not is students living in cars in community college parking lots. And that's the solution that was offered by the state. And the state needs to commit to unhoused students. That's no way to get an education. And so we need greater state commitment, and we'll have to explore public partnerships to get this to fruition. But I know that the majority of the board has been, and the administration has been committed to this. And this is a separate pot of money, this is a separate pot of money than our the fiscal situation with our faculty and staff. So it's separate from that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, going to the last question. The new board will likely be responsible for selecting a new college president. How should trustees balance professional search committee recommendations, faculty, community input, and their own independent judgment? And what would cause you to reject the search committee's top recommendation? Luis.
Hoping that didn't happen. Yeah, that's tough because we have a representative groups that are going through the process, that are identifying those individuals. But I think for me, we need to find someone who is innovative, and not just innovative in what community colleges are doing, but I think innovative in education. Our educational system is changing. The way that we learn is changing. And so we need someone to really think that forward-looking while also taking care of our financial sort of situation and aligning us to the state. And so I think if there's someone that doesn't really see it in that way, right, or at least has that vision in mind, then it's going to be very difficult for me to choose that person and not feel like we need to go back and find that, because we are really talking about the future of education, right? That's really kind of the moment in time that we're in. And so we need to find someone that really understands that and can move us forward in that way.
Thank you. Kera.
So I think that the new person should actually be forward-thinking as well. The only reason I would probably say a rejection is if the person is not well-rounded. I think we need someone that is innovative, someone is a great communicator, and someone that will be open to suggestions from the board, as well as have an open door policy with the faculty and staff. I think someone that, is totally not only coming from a college and an education background, but also has some type of entrepreneurship, leadership, innovation, and some type of finance background. I think we have to find someone that is well-rounded and that is very experienced in this type of situation.
Thanks. Shai?
Dr. Jeffrey's tenure there was a lot of crisis management. We had COVID during her tenure. We had a murder on our campus. We've had a very difficult fiscal situation that's been, up and down over her entire tenure. We've had issues with race relations on campus. And I think that her strength was being a rock in the middle of crisis and being able to calmly make decisions. And right now, as we approach the next few years, I'm hopeful that we're sort of at this nadir given our fiscal situation, and we'll be able to grow out of this and expand the college to serve our community and students. And that is, going to require a president with a vision for a positive vision for the future. And I think that those are two different strengths, both of which are important, but crisis management and, sort of a vision and positive growth-oriented president. And I'm looking at this moment of our college for, somebody with a positive vision of growth for the college going forward.
Thanks. Oscar?
In my 22 years of public service, I've had the privilege of working on a national search to hire at least 3 or 4 superintendents for our public school system, and also city managers for the city of Santa Monica. I understand that, the criteria that we set out is very important. It should reflect our values. And that being said, people apply. The interview process, I think, we should always be open to having faculty, staff, students give input, to at least in the first round, and give guidance, to the governing board before they make the decision. I think, though, really important, this next president is probably going to come onto campus with worker morale probably being at the lowest that it's been in the last, 20 years. So you need to have someone that's pro-worker. They don't have to always give in to everything that, the bargaining units want, but they should be pro-worker in their heart, pro-union. That's something that I think is a very important attribute to have that track record of addressing worker morale.
Thank you. And Tom?
Well, the question is slightly flawed in that this board is going to select the new president
Maybe it'll be another
possibly in September. But to your point, and I've mentioned this in open session, much to the chagrin of some other board members, but I said if the Search Committee brings forth candidates that we don't feel can handle a really tough job, that Oscar was spot on talking about morale, we're going to send them back. So the new board might be selecting a president, but it's one of the biggest events we're all going to be part of, and I can't stress how important it is that we get it right for the future of the college, especially I don't know if this person exists, but I hope they are. We'll know him when we see him or her, but I hope.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to closing statements. Kera, you're up first.
Thank you, everyone, again, for this opportunity. Throughout my life, I've seen firsthand how education can change the trajectory of a person's future. It changed mine, and through my work in our community, I've had the privilege of helping others discover new opportunities through education, entrepreneurship, and service. As your trustee, I will lead with integrity, collaboration, and accountability. I will ask tough questions, listen to our students, faculty, and community, and always make decisions that put students' success first. I would be honored to earn your support, and together we can ensure Santa Monica College continues to open doors for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Oscar?
Yes. I've served 18 years on the school board. Every election to the school board came from your support, from the Santa Monica Democratic Club. So I want to thank you all very much, everyone that's on Zoom right now. I want to thank you all for that support because it allowed me to work on policies and programs that are vital to our student success around issues of equity, diversity in hiring, inclusion. Those are important values that I hold in my heart, and I hope that I can count on your support to continue to serve my community on the College Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Shai?
This club is so important to me, and I think the club reflects the values of the community here, and I've always been so proud to have the club support, win, lose, or draw, for every campaign and bring those values to every campaign that I've ever run. And so I'd be really grateful for your support again as I run for re-election. And so thank you for considering that.
Thank you. Tom?
Yes, thanks everybody for attending both here and on Zoom. This amazing club supported me 4 years ago, and I'm asking them for support for another 4 years. If elected, I'll be the chair of the board the first year that we have a new president, and I want to work on finding new ways to support our new innovative ways to support our students and the wider community.
Thank you. And finally, Luis?
Just wanted to say thank you too. This moment doesn't escape me as someone who came from Guatemala across the border and is now able to seek public office. I'm just really just privileged and in such a high in that way. But I really, what I was saying earlier about my trajectory in life changed because of Santa Monica College, right? I was on my way to become a plumber and then a master's degree, a doctorate degree level later, and rising to the officer level within a major nonprofit, and spending 20 years in public policy, higher education, workforce development. This is the type of impact and this is the type of service that I want to create in my community. So I would be honored to have your vote and your endorsement as I move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give it up for the field. And if you guys can pose for Jay here, he's going to take your photo, and then the rent board can come up. We'll do your photo first after this one's done.